Austria, Europe, June 8, 2024.
Ich bin da rüber, den Venezia, aber wir sind auch Evo. Wo der Haber, da am Fenster steht, da bei der Pizzeria.
Mehr Mühne. Wir hatten letzte Woche schon das Domwelkeller und was dran. Jetzt sind die Packungsgelege.
On Saturday, as feared, heavy thunderstorms swept across Styria, Austria again. In the early evening, the storms raged mainly north of Graz and in the Mur and Mürz valleys. The center of the rain is Deutschfeistritz in the Graz area. The Übelbach has overflowed there to such an extent that, according to descriptions, it is currently as wide as the Mur. The railway line is partially underwater, and the town center can currently only be reached by boat. We are really calling on everyone to stay in their homes. There is an absolute risk to life, says Micah Brucker from the market town. The Mojo Blues Band was supposed to perform at the Sensenwerk today, and the first guests were already there. Until we evacuated everyone at 6:15 p.m. half an hour later. It's unthinkable what would have happened then, says Brucker. People were locked in their cars. We were able to rescue and evacuate them all, Brucker told the Kleine Zeitung. But the worst thing, up to 100 liters of rain are forecast again, says Brucker. The situation in the town is extremely dangerous. The fire brigade has been on duty for hours. In Stubing, rainfall of 141 liters was even measured. The crisis team met with Governor Christopher Drexler at the State Warning Center. It is being examined whether a district disaster should be declared for parts of the Graz area and Hartberg-Fürstenfeld. Drexler and Vice Governor Anton Lang are urging the population in the affected areas to continue to exercise extreme caution, and are already thanking the emergency services. The flash flood was triggered by the large thunderstorm cell that first formed to the north, then moved east and south and split into many small cells, says Disaster Relief Officer Harold Eitner. The situation in Jogland is very tense. As of 10 p.m., large-scale evacuations are not planned. There is also a civil defense warning for the communities of Weinitzen and Eggersdorf. There is a threat of massive flooding of the Rabnitz River, and the bridges in the town are at risk, according to the fire department. A 1.5-meter high mudslide blocked the A9 Pyern motorway near Übelbach. The mudslide occurred just after the Übelbach junction. The A9 was immediately closed in the southbound direction, and shortly afterwards in the northbound direction for safety reasons and because of the persistent rainfall, according to motorway operator Asfinag. The closure will remain in place until Sunday morning. Until then, traffic will be diverted in both directions from St. Michael and Deutschfeistritz via the S6 and the S35. In Graz, where the Grazathlon took place in dry conditions in the afternoon, wind gusts of up to 94 km per hour were measured according to the Austrian Storm Control Center. The result was numerous fallen trees and endless fire service operations. In Karosi Strasse, a tree damaged the tram's overhead line and blocked the entire street. Small streams such as the Lenhardbach became raging waters and are now only a few millimeters away from being overflowed. In Andritz, individual streets are flooded, such as Neustift Weg. Nothing can be done anymore, they say locally. Radigunder Strasse is also no longer passable. The Schackelbach has already overflowed its banks, as the video by Reader reporter Jan Misek shows. The city of Graz raised the defense alarm in Andritz and Mariatrost at around 10 p.m., and Hilmteig is specifically mentioned. The water levels are expected to continue to rise, they say. And the urgent appeal: please avoid underground car parks and cellars, as there is a risk of flooding there. As can be seen on the live map from Energinet Steiermark, there were partial power outages on Saturday evening. The Myrtle was particularly badly affected. Heavy thunderstorms swept across southwest Styria on Friday. In the Deutschlandsberg district, roofs were blown off and in some places hailstones with a diameter of 5 centimeters fell. In the Graz area, the volunteer fire brigades in Deutschfeistritz had their hands full. The Übelbach River overflowed its banks there. But the emergency services were also called upon in other regions of Styria. Starting from the mountains, strong thunderstorm cells swept across the flat and hilly areas, bringing heavy rainfall and hail in some places. In Deutschlandsberg, 36 liters of rain fell per square meter. In St. Radegund, it was 46 liters. There was also strong wind locally, said meteorologist Andreas Mansberger from Geosphere the next day. Sunday will also be unsettled. On Monday, a cold front will move in from the northwest. It will be cooler. The potential for severe weather remains, emphasizes the meteorologist. This is particularly troubling for farmers. The dry periods in recent weeks have been so short that they could hardly be used for haymaking. Farmers call us every day to ask when the rain will finally stop, says Mansberger. You should also be careful when hiking. Currently, there is neither bathing nor mountain weather, says the expert. Last week, Burgenland, Austria, experienced the first significant hailstorm of 2024, wreaking havoc on the region's agricultural landscape. According to the Austrian hail insurance, Österreichische Hagelversicherung, the storm affected a total of 5,000 hectares in the districts of Neusiedl am See and Eisenstadt Umgebung. The frost at the end of May had already set a grim tone for 2024, causing concern among winemakers about the potential impact on their crops. Just 2 weeks later, the severe hailstorm further compounded these difficulties, especially in Burgenland, which had largely escaped the earlier frost. In the affected areas of Neusiedl am See and Eisenstadt Umgebung, the hail caused extensive damage to entire vineyards. Winemakers from Gols, one of the prominent wine-producing regions, reported to the Austrian Broadcasting Corporation, ORF, that some vineyards suffered up to 100% damage. Southern Burgenland also saw isolated cases of significant damage, highlighting the widespread nature of the storm's impact. Previously, a hailstorm left streets in the western Polish city of Gniezno flooded as storms passed over the country. Footage shot by the private broadcaster showed vehicles and people passing through the flooded streets, and hailstones floating on the surface of the water.